All right, so today we are going to take a deep dive into something pretty interesting, I think.
Okay.
It is Jeff Bezos' final letter to Amazon shareholders from 2020.
Okay, cool.
Now, I know what you might be thinking, shareholder letter is kind of a snooze fest, right?
Yeah.
But trust me on this one, because this one is different.
Okay.
Bezos uses it to lay out like Amazon's whole philosophy,
Uh-huh.
hints at future plans, and even addresses some of those controversies that have been swirling around Amazon.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting how he frames this whole letter.
Yeah.
He doesn't just like zero in on the bottom line, the profit.
Right.
He's trying to kind of redefine how we think about a company's success.
Yeah.
And he does that by talking about value creation.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So
Yeah.
he actually breaks it down. Like, how much value did Amazon generate in 2020
Uh-huh.
for different groups? Shareholders,
Uh,
employees, third-party sellers, and get this, customers.
Yeah, and that customer value calculation is where things get really interesting. It's like really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Bezos argues that like Prime members,
Okay.
they save a ton of time shopping online versus going to like brick and mortar stores.
Right.
And he even puts a dollar value on that time saved,
Go.
$10 an hour.
Interesting.
So basically what he's saying is that convenience like that has a quantifiable worth.
Mm-hmm.
By his calculations, each Prime member gets about $630 in value
Wow.
just from the time they save.
Just from the
Yeah,
day.
multiply that by like millions of Prime members.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like a huge chunk of value creation.
And it's massive, right?
Yeah, so it really raises this question like, is this a legitimate way to actually measure a company's impact?
Right.
Like, is time really worth $10 an hour for everyone?
Yeah, it's hard to put like a hard number on that.
Right. It kind of forces us to think beyond those like traditional metrics.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just profit
Right.
and consider like the wider impact of how a company operates.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Bezos doesn't shy away from some of the like less rosy aspects of Amazon.
Right.
He directly addresses the criticisms about their workplace.
Yeah.
All those claims about like grueling working conditions and things like that.
Yeah, those claims have been around for a while.
Yeah, and he tries to counter that narrative by presenting data from their internal surveys.
Okay.
For instance, he highlights that 94% of fulfillment center employees
Wow.
would recommend Amazon as a workplace.
Okay. That's interesting.
He also like dives into specifics about these coaching programs
Uh-huh.
that they have, emphasizing that the vast majority of feedback given to employees
Okay.
is positive and focused on development.
Interesting.
He even mentions that less than 2.6% of employees are let go because of performance issues.
You know,
So he's really painting this picture of a company that like invests in their workforce
okay.
and prioritizes their well-being.
I see. But what I find really interesting is that even while he's defending their current practices, he also acknowledges that they need like a better vision for their employees.
Yeah.
He outlines this ambitious goal of becoming Earth's best employer and Earth's safest place to work.
It's like he's saying we're doing good, but we can do even better.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he talks about their efforts to reduce workplace injuries, specifically
Uh-huh.
musculoskeletal disorders, which are caused by repetitive motions.
Right, right.
He mentions this program they have called Working Well, which focuses on coaching employees
Okay.
on like body mechanics and proactive wellness.
So they're being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he also reveals that they're putting a substantial amount of money into safety projects.
Like what kind of things?
Well, he mentions like developing technology to prevent accidents between forklifts and other vehicles.
Oh, wow. So like really high-tech solutions.
Yeah, it seems like he's really making a conscious effort to position Amazon as like a leader
Yeah.
in workplace safety,
Uh-huh.
not just meeting the bare minimum requirements.
Going above and beyond.
Exactly.
And it's interesting how he connects these initiatives to their decision to implement a $15 minimum wage a few years back.
Right.
He cites a study that showed that their wage increase actually led to a bump in average wages for other employers in the same areas.
Oh, wow. So like a ripple effect.
Yeah, like their actions can have a positive impact
Yeah.
beyond just their own workforce.
That's interesting, though. Before we move on,
Yeah.
there's another big topic that he tackles in this letter that I think will surprise you.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right.
Okay.
He goes all in on climate change.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that.
And not in the way you might expect.
Okay.
He doesn't get like bogged down in debating the science or anything. He just flat out states that climate change is a fact.
Wow.
There's like gravity.
Okay.
No two ways about it.
It's a strong statement.
Yeah. And what's interesting is how he frames climate action,
Okay.
not just as like a moral imperative, but like a smart business move.
Oh, interesting. He argues that it can actually lead to like a more efficient economy, drive innovation in technology, and reduce risks in the long run.
So it's good for the planet and good for business.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and he doesn't just talk about it. He like puts his money where his mouth is.
Okay, how so?
Well, he highlights the Climate Pledge,
Okay.
which was co-founded by Amazon and Global Optimism back in 2019.
Okay.
This initiative commits companies to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2040,
Wow.
which is a full decade ahead of what the Paris Agreement calls for.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's not just talk. He points out that 53 companies from all these different sectors have already signed on.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, we're talking about like big names like Uber aiming for zero-emission operations in major cities by 2030,
Wow.
and Henkel planning to use 100% renewable energy for their production.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's not just Amazon doing this, it's like a whole movement.
Exactly. It's like a collaborative effort.
That's really cool. And Amazon is walking the walk too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bezos reminds us about their commitment to hit 100% renewable energy by 2025,
Okay.
which is 5 years ahead of their initial goal.
Wow, they're really going for it.
Yeah, he even boasts that Amazon is the largest corporate buyer of renewable energy globally.
Really?
Yeah, they've got all these wind and solar projects going on, including solar panels right on top of their fulfillment centers.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And what about those electric delivery vans you've been seeing around?
Oh, yeah, he dives into that too.
I was going to ask about those.
So Amazon invested over $1 billion in Rivian
Okay.
and ordered a whopping 100,000 electric delivery vans.
Wow. 100,000.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it's a lot of vans.
I've seen those things zipping around my neighborhood.
Yeah, me too. Bezos says their goal is to have all those vans on the road by 2030,
Okay.
which could potentially save millions of metric tons of carbon emissions.
It's pretty impressive when you think about the scale of their operations.
Yeah, absolutely. And he even mentions the Climate Pledge Fund, which is a $2 billion investment program.
$2 billion with a B.
With a B.
Wow.
Specifically designed to support companies developing technologies and solutions
Right?
for a low-carbon economy.
So they're not just reducing their own footprint, they're like pushing the whole market towards more sustainable solutions.
Oh, exactly. They're using their influence to make a bigger impact.
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And get this, he reveals that he's personally putting $10 billion,
$10 billion.
$10 billion
Wow.
towards grants for organizations fighting climate change and protecting the environment.
He's putting his own money behind it.
Yeah, he's not just leading the charge as CEO. He's like personally invested in this.
That's really admirable.
Yeah, it is.
So we've covered value creation, workplace controversies, and climate action.
We have.
But this being his last letter as CEO,
Right.
Bezos also takes this opportunity to share some parting wisdom.
He does.
And he does it in a really unexpected way.
Yeah, he pulls out this quote from Richard Dawkins' book, The Blind Watchmaker, that talks about living organisms constantly fighting against entropy.
Entropy.
Yeah, he's basically saying that in nature, things tend to break down and become more homogeneous over time.
Okay.
It takes constant effort to maintain a distinct identity,
Yeah.
whether you're a living organism or a company.
Right.
So he then applies this concept to the business world,
Okay.
arguing that companies face this same pressure to become typical.
To kind of blend in.
Yeah, exactly. He poses this question. How much work does it take to maintain your distinctiveness?
It's like he's challenging Amazon and all of us, really.
Yeah.
To resist that pull towards mediocrity
Exactly.
and fight for what makes us special.
Yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat it either.
Right.
He acknowledges that staying distinctive, being truly innovative, comes at a cost.
There's price to pay.
Yeah, it requires constant effort, pushing boundaries, and even a willingness to embrace discomfort.
To be uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's basically saying,
Yeah.
yes, be yourself, but be prepared to fight for it.
I love that. And he connects this directly to Amazon,
He does.
stating that the world will always try to make them more typical, more like everyone else. He urges them to resist that pressure, to hold on to what makes them different.
So what he's really doing is issuing a call to action.
Okay.
He's encouraging Amazon and anyone listening
Yeah.
to embrace the struggle of staying true to themselves.
For who they are.
Yeah, because that's where innovation and real value creation come from.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And with that, he signs off,
Yeah.
passing the torch to Andy Jassy, his successor,
Right.
and expresses confidence that Jassy will keep that fire of distinctiveness burning bright.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, and with a final reminder that it remains day one,
Uh-huh.
Bezos concludes his final letter as CEO.
Wow, looking back at this whole letter, it really is more than just a financial report.
It is.
It's a window into Bezos's business philosophy,
Yeah.
his reflections on Amazon's journey, and his vision for the future.
Now, you can't talk about Bezos's last letter without mentioning something that he did that's pretty unique.
What's that?
He included a reprint of his very first shareholder letter from way back in 1997.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how much Amazon has grown and changed since then.
I bet.
Going from a small online bookstore to this massive, multifaceted company.
Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere now.
They are everywhere.
It's incredible.
But what's striking is how much of their core philosophy has remained consistent.
Really?
Yeah, even back then he was talking about this long-term focus,
Uh-huh.
prioritizing building a lasting dominant company
Okay.
over chasing short-term profits or worrying about Wall Street's reactions.
So like playing the long game.
Exactly.
Thing.
He lays out their decision-making framework,
Right.
emphasizing that they'll always prioritize long-term market leadership considerations over anything else.
Wow, so they're really in it for the long haul.
They are, and he even acknowledges that this might mean making decisions
Okay.
that seem counterintuitive to other companies.
That's interesting.
One phrase from that 1997 letter really jumped out at me.
What was that?
Obsess over customers.
I like that.
Even back then, Bezos recognized the power of putting the customer at the center of everything.
Makes sense.
And it's amazing to see how this principle has shaped Amazon's trajectory over the years.
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
They're known for their customer service.
They are.
They're like ease of use.
Absolutely.
It's all about the customer.
He talks about how they focused on offering customers something they couldn't get anywhere else back then.
Okay.
A huge selection, a user-friendly online store, and a relentless focus on improving the shopping experience.
So they were really ahead of their time.
Remember, this was back in the early days of the internet.
Right.
Bezos even called it the World Wide Wait because everything was so slow.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
And he saw an opportunity to make speed and convenience central to Amazon's value proposition.
Interesting.
And that focus on removing friction from the shopping experience is still a driving force for them today.
Right. Think about things like one-click ordering Prime delivery.
Yeah.
All those recommendations tailored to your browsing history.
It's all about making it as easy as possible for you to find and buy what you need.
Exactly.
He also had this keen awareness of the competitive landscape even back then.
Right.
He recognized the incredible opportunity the internet presented,
Right.
but he also saw the threat from established players moving online.
Interesting.
And this understanding of both the potential and the challenges seems to have fueled their aggressive growth strategy from the very beginning.
Yeah, they were moving fast.
Bezos talks about the need for bold rather than timid investment decisions to grab market share and build a lasting advantage.
So not afraid to take risks.
Not at all, and he wasn't afraid to put his money where his mouth was.
How so?
He details their significant investments in infrastructure, building those massive distribution centers, and hiring top talent to support their rapid expansion.
They were building for the future.
They were, and looking back, it's clear that those early bold bets paid off in a big way.
Yeah, they definitely paid off.
And all of this was happening during the dot-com boom,
Right.
a time when many internet companies were focused on growth at all costs, often with disastrous consequences.
A lot of companies went bust.
They did. What set Amazon apart was that while they were aggressive, they also maintained a focus on efficiency and long-term profitability.
So they were growing, but they were also being smart about it.
Exactly. It wasn't just about growing fast.
Right.
It was about growing sustainably.
That's a good point.
Bezos stresses the importance of a lean culture and finding a balance between growth and managing their capital wisely.
Not just throwing money at every problem.
Exactly.
Right.
He also recognized the importance of building a strong team from the get-go.
Yeah, your people are your biggest asset.
Absolutely. He talks about attracting and retaining talented employees, using stock options as a key part of their compensation package. He understood that their people would be a crucial differentiator in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really remarkable how many of the principles outlined in that 1997 letter are still guiding Amazon today.
That's pretty amazing.
It is their obsession with customers, their long-term mindset, their
Hmm.
focus on operational excellence, and their willingness to experiment.
Uh-huh.
It's all rooted in those early
So
days.
they've stayed true to their roots.
They have. It's a testament to the power of having a clear vision and staying true to your core values, even as the world around you changes.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for any company.
It is. And speaking of change,
Yeah,
Bezos' decision to step down as CEO marks a significant turning point in Amazon's journey.
it does.
He built this company from the ground up,
Yeah.
and now he's handing over the reins.
Wow.
He expresses confidence in Andy Jassy's ability to lead Amazon into the future.
It's a new era for the company.
It is.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next.
Sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
But as Amazon enters this new phase,
They're facing some pretty big questions about their role in the world.
right, like what is their impact going to be?
Exactly. Think about the debates around their labor practices,
Right.
their impact on smaller businesses,
Yeah.
the influence they have on technology.
It's huge.
These are things that aren't going away anytime soon.
No, they're not. And I think it's clear that Amazon's story is far from over.
Right.
And as they continue to evolve, I think it's important to look back and see what lessons we can learn from their journey,
Yeah,
both the successes and the missteps.
absolutely.
And I think there's a lot we can unpack from this shareholder letter
Yeah.
that goes beyond just the specifics of Amazon itself.
What does it all mean?
Yeah, what can we as individuals and as a society take away from this deep dive into Amazon's 2020 shareholder letter?
Yeah.
What does it tell us about business innovation, the challenges we face in this crazy 21st century?
Those are big questions.
They are big questions.
And there's no easy answer. No, but one of the most important takeaways for me is the importance of thinking critically
Okay.
and asking those tough questions.
I think Bezos himself encourages that kind of critical thinking throughout his letter.
He does.
He tackles some really difficult subjects head on,
Yeah.
and he even challenges some of those conventional ideas we have about business and success.
He wants us to question those assumptions.
Yeah.
Look at things from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
And to always be pushing for something better.
Always improving.
Exactly. And maybe that's his most lasting legacy.
Okay.
This mindset of always striving to improve, relentlessly pursuing excellence,
Yeah.
and believing in the power of innovation to create value for everyone.
It's a powerful idea.
It is.
So we've covered a lot of ground today unpacking Amazon's 2020 shareholder letter from all angles.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We dug into their financial performance, their workplace practices, their commitment to climate action, and even their fundamental philosophy.
It's been a deep dive for sure.
But the real learning starts when you begin asking your own questions.
Yeah.
And exploring these topics even further.
What stood out to you from this letter?
For me, it was seeing how Bezos combines that bold ambition with a long-term perspective.
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, but his letter reminds us to keep our eyes on the horizon,
Yeah.
to think big, and to stay patient as we pursue our goals.
That's a lesson that applies to all of us,
It does.
whether we're leading a company, a team, or just navigating our own lives.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the journey,
Yeah.
learning from both our wins and our losses,
Right.
and never losing sight of what truly matters.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
It's a good reminder that success isn't just about reaching some destination.
Hmm.
It's about how we grow and evolve along the way.
And that makes the journey worth it.
It does. If you're as fascinated by this letter as we are,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out the full version
Yeah, definitely.
and explore the parts that really resonated with you.
Yeah. And don't stop there.
Right.
Go deeper. Research those companies, tackling climate change head on.
Yeah.
Learn more about the ethical considerations of AI.
Yes.
Or dive into the history of the dot-com boom.
And the lessons we can learn.
From those who thrived and those who stumbled,
Absolutely.
the quest for knowledge never ends.
It doesn't.
The more we learn, the better equipped we are to make smart choices and contribute to a more thoughtful and responsible future.
So keep asking those tough questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next.
But as Amazon enters this new phase, they're facing some pretty big questions.
Like, what is their impact going to be on the world?
Exactly. And I think, think about the debates around their labor practices.
Right.
The impact they have on smaller businesses.
Yeah.
The influence they wield on technology.
Right. It's huge.
This is stuff that's not going away anytime soon.
It's not going away. And I think it's clear that Amazon's story It's not over.
Right.
And, as they continue to evolve, I think it's really important to look back and see what lessons we can learn
Yeah,
from their journey so far.
absolutely.
Both the successes and the missteps.
The good and the bad.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot we can unpack from this shareholder letter
Yeah.
that goes beyond just the specifics of Amazon itself.
What does it all mean?
Yeah, like what can we as individuals, as a society, take away from this deep dive into Amazon's 2020 shareholder letter and Bezos' final message? What does it tell us about business innovation, the challenges we face in this crazy 21st century?
Those are huge questions.
They are.
And there's no easy answer.
No, I think one of the most important takeaways for me is just the importance of thinking critically,
Okay.
asking those tough questions.
Yeah, and I think Bezos himself really encourages that kind of critical thinking throughout his letter.
He does.
He tackles these difficult subjects head on.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from controversy.
Not at all. And he even challenges some of those conventional ideas we have
Right.
about business and about success.
He wants us to question those assumptions.
Yeah.
Look at things from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
And always be pushing for something better.
Always improving.
Exactly. And maybe that's his most lasting legacy. This mindset of always striving to improve relentlessly, pursuing excellence, and believing in the power of innovation to create value for everyone.
It's a powerful idea.
It really is.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, unpacking Amazon's 2020 shareholder letter from all angles.
Yeah, we've been all over the place.
We dug into their financial performance, their workplace practices, their commitment to climate action, and even their fundamental philosophy.
Their DNA.
Exactly. But I think the real learning starts when you begin asking your own questions.
Absolutely.
And exploring these topics even further.
Yeah. So what stood out to you from this letter? What sparked your curiosity?
For me, it was seeing how Bezos combines that bold ambition with a long-term perspective. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But his letter, it reminds us to keep our eyes on the horizon,
yeah.
to think big and to stay patient as we pursue our goals.
That's a lesson that applies to all of us.
It really does.
Whether we're leading a company or a team or just navigating our own lives.
It's about embracing the journey.
Yeah.
Learning from both our wins and our losses.
Absolutely.
And never losing sight of what truly matters.
Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself.
It's a good reminder that success isn't just about reaching some destination.
Right.
It's about how we grow and evolve along the way.
And that makes the journey worth it.
It really does. And if you're as fascinated by this letter as we are, we encourage you to check out the full version.
Yeah, definitely.
And explore the parts that really resonated with you.
And don't stop there. Go deeper. Research those companies tackling climate change head on.
Yeah.
Learn more about the ethical considerations of AI. Or dive into the history of the dot-com boom and the lessons we can learn from those who thrived and those who stumbled.
The quest for knowledge never ends.
It doesn't.
The more we learn, the better equipped we are to make smart choices and contribute to a more thoughtful and responsible future.
So keep asking those tough questions. Keep exploring and keep diving deep.
Until next time.
Until next time.